right. Please be seated. It's an honor and a privilege to introduce the First Lady this morning. Not only is she a remarkable First Lady, but for those who may be unaware, she is also a full-time professor in her other day job.
Yes, my paying job.
Yes. And when we travel, one thing I make sure I don't do is talk to her on the plane. Why? Because she's grading papers, quite literally. That is the extent of the scope of what she does. And later today, she will be joining the First Spouses for lunch as they put together care packages for educators across the country. Dr. Biden has been traveling to communities across the country to highlight the administration's commitment to making education more accessible, create pathways to good-paying jobs, and preparing our workforce to meet the growing demands of the modern era, as we discussed earlier today. She works tirelessly, literally tirelessly, day in and day out, as Governor Green can attest from the visit last year to Hawaii. She is a champion for so many people, and please join me in welcoming the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Please sit down. Thank you. Thanks. So thank you, Tom. So Tom was telling me as we were walking in that you've had a good morning. So I'm glad that I'm walking into people in a good mood. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your work and your efforts to foster a more constructive, respectful dialogue in our debates. And Joe is so grateful for your leadership. And so I have to say that Governor Cox, I want to say I'm grateful to you and Abby for the warm welcome in Utah last month. So good morning, everyone, and it's great to be here with all of you. And Governor Scott, when I visited Vermont last year, what you said really stayed with me. You said pure partisan politics has never contributed to real solutions, and that we can and should prioritize progress over politics, especially on issues where the majority of Americans agree. That majority is an exhausted one. I think you've seen that, as Governor Cox often points out. They're frustrated by a Congress that is often mired in gridlock, and those who too often treat government like a sport with an us versus them mindset and a knee-jerk reaction to oppose anything, the other team supports. But this room shows the nation something different. And I wish that the lawmakers on the Hill would follow your lead. You show that we can turn down the volume, stop the shouting, and actually listen to one another. That yes, as Governor Cox says, we can disagree without being disagreeable. As many of you know, I've been teaching writing for 40 years, as Tom referenced. So one day, a student named Harry, who wanted to be an auto mechanic, raised his hand. Dr. B, he said, the only thing I need to learn how to write is needs breaks. He was, well, you finally got it. Come on, wake up. So he was joking, of course, but he had a point. He wasn't just there to learn the art of writing. He was there to help prepare himself for a good paying job. For most people, a high school diploma alone isn't enough to find a great career. But they don't often need a 4-year degree to pursue their passions either. And as technology brings changes to so many industries, these kind of learning paths are more important than ever. Since he took office, my husband, President Biden, has been focused on rebuilding the middle class. I'm sure you've all heard him say that in your states. And today, millions of new jobs in infrastructure and clean energy and manufacturing are being created. we will need to train a new generation of workers to fill those jobs. And these positions pay well. And many of them require associate degrees or certificates or other hands-on instruction, not 4 years of college. Still, a lot of high school students don't necessarily know how to get from earning their diplomas to earning a living. They may not even know what roles are out there. And that's why we need to transform education so that it does a better job for preparing students for careers. Nearly 60% of graduating high school students don't go to a 4-year college. 60%, 6 out of every 10 students. Are high schools designed to meet the needs of those students, the majority who don't go directly to a 4-year university? Too many schools aren't. Yes, we should still expand access and affordability, for students who want to go immediately to a 4-year college after high school. But we also need to dramatically expand the opportunities that we provide for students who may pursue something else. And that means that everyone has a chance to explore future careers in high school. Career-connected learning meets that need. And I've seen it around the country. In Wisconsin, Governor Evers is scaling a model for starting apprenticeships in high school in fields from finance to nursing. In Vermont, Governor Scott is investing in dual enrollment and free community college. And in Indiana, I saw how students are getting training for careers in clean energy. These states show us what it looks like when students have access to comprehensive career advising, when they are able to take community college courses in high school and even earn a credential, and when they can earn high school course credit for working at a job. I believe in evidence-based models, not just theories, and we know that this works. An Oregon study found that students who concentrated in particular career area graduated high school at higher rates and went on to earn higher wages. So you're probably saying, I know a lot of you are doing this, so what can you do? You can build out and grow career-connected programs in your state. And I know, like I said, many of you are already doing this because I've been to your states to see the programs. Some of you are providing comprehensive career advising. Some are prioritizing access to dual enrollment between high school and community college. And some have impressive programs that allow students to work in real workplaces as part of their high school curriculum. And some states are expanding credentialing opportunities so that students can work toward obtaining a career qualification while in high school. But not enough states are doing all these things all at once for every student. So that's what's crucial in unlocking the potential of career-connected learning. So I'm asking all of you, if you're not doing this already, to lean in. Go to the businesses in your state and tell them how apprenticeships can boost productivity and reduce turnover. Go to your community college and K-12 leaders and work with them to expand dual enrollment opportunities that connect all students to good paying jobs. And use my office, use me as a resource. Reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you lift up the great work that you're already doing. And I hope that when this group gathers next, that we have even more successes to show. So thank you for listening this morning. I appreciate it. But before I go, I want to come around. You have this card on your table. Okay. You all have it. So you know the Bidens are a military family. So oh, thanks. I have a teacher voice. I don't need this. So I want to give you a little homework. So there are 15 million military connected kids across our country. These kids need access to services. So I want you to take a look at your state and make sure that these kids are counted in your high school consensuses. So, thank you. Yeah, thanks. So so that they can get everything that they need. You know, they need so many programs and help. And so if you can do that one more thing, I'd really appreciate it. And I know that your hearts are there. So I want to thank you beforehand for, taking this to heart. This is your homework. So thank you so much for listening today. Thanks.
Short break. Be back in a few minutes.
Distinguished guests, may I have your attention? Please take your seats. The program will begin soon. Thank you. Distinguished guests, may I have your attention? Please take your seats. The program will begin soon. Thank you. Distinguished guests, may I have your attention? Please take your seats and silence cell phones. The program will begin soon. Thank you. Distinguished guests, please welcome the President of the United States, accompanied by the Vice President of the United States, the Governor of Utah, and the Governor of Colorado.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, it is a great honor to be able to join you today with governors from across these United States and our territories, and we appreciate the warm welcome. On behalf of the Bipartisan National Governors Association, I want to thank you, and thank you for making so many members of your cabinet available to us as well this morning. We also appreciate your kind invitation to entertain us tomorrow evening here at the White House. I'm not saying it. Yeah. In Colorado, we've been proud, Vice President Harris, to welcome you and your husband Doug a number of times, most recently for a Clean Energy Conference, which was a great success. I want to thank you for your enthusiasm, for highlighting the work that we do in our state and other states across the nation towards achieving our renewable energy goals, and the work that we are collaborating on the White House with to save people money on health care and make our state and our world a better place. As we all take actions at the state level, from improving our roads to expanding broadband access, our work is elevated and supported thanks to the accomplishments of your administration. We look forward to continue to push forward with these once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to invest in the infrastructure of our states, with you, Vice President, with the President, with our federal partners. I know that we all look forward to this strong partnership that we have between the Vice President and us in the states. It's now my privilege to turn the floor over to the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Good morning, everyone, and I want to thank NGA Vice Chair Polis for the introduction and for your friendship, and it really has been my joy and honor to work with you, and I send best from Doug as well. And I thank you for your principled and powerful leadership in Colorado. And to all the governors here today, thank you for your work and for continuing to uphold important traditions, including the important tradition of us working together across party lines. I think this is one of the few remaining professional organizations among elected leaders where there is meaningful bipartisan work that is happening, and I thank you for that. As demonstrated by our administration's record over the past 3 years, there are few leaders as committed to bipartisan collaboration than Joe Biden. President Joe Biden knows how to work across the aisle and across every level of government to make progress. Globally and domestically, he has a bold vision for our future. And he has the strength, and I see it every day, and the skill and the courage and the determination to make that vision real. We are here today because we are all united by a common and collective purpose: to create opportunity, prosperity, and progress for the American people. As a former statewide elected leader, the Attorney General of California for 2 terms, I know firsthand the importance of state and federal collaboration. And as Vice President, I have worked closely with many of you on issues like infrastructure, emergency response, and clean energy, and on 2 issues that I will address briefly today: access to capital and maternal mortality. So first, access to capital for small businesses. I don't need to tell the governors and the leaders here, America's small businesses employ tens of millions of workers and generate trillions of dollars for our economy every year. And their strength, then, is essential to a broad-based economic policy of growth. Growth which benefits businesses of all sizes. Small business owners are business leaders, and they are civic leaders. And so, building on the work that I helped lead in the United States Senate, we have increased access to capital for the small businesses of America. President Biden and I are giving a total of $10 billion to states across our nation to invest in small businesses. And as Vice President, I have had the honor of visiting almost half the states that are represented here today, and I've seen firsthand the vitality of small business, and knowing that that is essential to the vitality of our communities as a whole. Not to mention how the growth of these small businesses generate tax revenue, which makes up, of course, a significant portion of the annual revenue of your states. So for these reasons, our focus has been to nurture the ambition and aspirations of everyone, from young entrepreneurs to multi-generational families, to help them with their success. And since taking office, we have seen a record number of small businesses in terms of their growth. The most small businesses ever created, in fact, in any 3 years in history, which is indicative of the overall growth of our economy. In addition to access to capital, together we have also taken on the issue of the maternal mortality crisis. It is something we cannot talk about enough in terms of the significance of this crisis. For years, federal public policy has not adequately addressed that before, during, and after childbirth, American women die at a higher rate than in any other wealthy nation in the world. The women of America die at a higher rate than the women of any other wealthy nation in the world. Over the years, I have spoken with too many people who have suffered because of this crisis, mothers who have lost babies, men who have lost their spouse, children who have lost a parent. And of the many factors that contribute to this crisis, one of the most significant is that millions of women in America, in particular in low-income communities, do not have access to adequate postpartum care. In fact, when we took office, the vast majority of American women on Medicaid were only entitled to 2 months of coverage for postpartum care, meaning 2 months after giving birth, she could lose access to life-saving care such as cardiac screenings, mental health counseling, and vaccinations. When the President and I took office, only 3 states offered 12 months of care. And so I issued a challenge to every state in our nation: extend Medicaid postpartum coverage from 2 months to 12 months, and thanks to the leaders in this room, the governors in this room, so far, a total of 44 states have answered that challenge. Yes. Including, as of today, Alaska. And 2 more states are in the process of extending coverage. And so we call on the remaining states to please do the same. In closing, these 2 seemingly unconnected issues, through the collaboration between our administration and the governors who are here, have contributed to the overall strength of our nation and the well-being of millions of Americans. And I thank you for your work. And now I will welcome a leader who has been a great partner on maternal mortality and mental health, the chairman of the NGA and governor of Utah, Spencer Cox. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair, or Vice Chair. Can I call you that? Madam Vice President, thank you for your kindness in welcoming us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's truly an honor to be in this place. Mr. President, you have an amazing house, and it never gets old being here. We, we value the partnerships that we have with the federal government. Now, as you know, as governors, we don't have the luxury of partisan posturing. No matter what is going on in Washington, our states depend on us to get stuff done, to balance the budget, to keep the parks open and the schools funded and the potholes filled, to get the lights back on after natural disasters. And governors work together on these priorities, much more than people realize. Our agenda at the National Governors Association meeting this week includes sessions on artificial intelligence, housing affordability, disaster response, workforce development, all the topics that Governor Polis mentioned, and more. Governors share ideas on all of these priorities as well. We welcome the opportunity to work with your administration on these issues. Now, that is not to say that we always agree. I can assure you that we don't. We have our arguments and disagreements. Mr. President, I think you said we argue like hell and then we get things done, and that is true. But we're determined to set an example for the country of bipartisan cooperation. We have a session today devoted entirely to healing the partisan divide and finding more constructive ways to disagree. As NGA's chair this year, it is my privilege to lead a focused initiative, and I chose a cause we call Disagree Better, because as you are well aware, we cannot make progress on any of the challenges I mentioned unless we solve the overarching challenge, the challenge of toxic polarization that is tearing our country apart. I know you agree that we'll be much more effective in overcoming our nation's challenges if we find ways to work together across party lines and across state lines. So thank you again for welcoming us. I look forward to our discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to yield the floor to the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
Thank you. Please, sit down. Thank you. If I were smart, I'd leave right now. Folks, thank you very much. Governor Cox, Governor Polis, all the governors for being here. I know you just heard, did Jill already speak, my wife? Well, what the hell am I doing here? Jill enjoys traveling to your states and to advance priorities like education and workforce development. And thanks to Kamala for her leadership and her incredible partnership across the board. And to the members of our cabinet, including former governor, and we have two former governors here. Are they both here today? Governor Raimondo? And where is my Secretary of Agriculture? Is he here? Well, he's going to be here tomorrow. Tom Vilsack is going to be here tomorrow. My Republican friends, I got bad news for you. I actually like working with you. And it reminds me of the days I was in the Senate. You know, we'd argue like hell and then we'd get things done. And, but look, before I begin, I want to say a few words about an important anniversary that we mark tomorrow. 2 years ago, shortly before dawn, Russian troops marched across the border in Ukraine. And Putin believed he could easily bend the will and break the resolve of the free people of Ukraine. That he could roll into Ukraine and he would roll over them. 2 years later, he remains wrong. He didn't do that. He wasn't able to do that. Kyiv is still standing. Ukraine is still free. And the people of Ukraine remain unbowed and unbroken in the face of Putin's vigorous onslaught. This is due to their sheer bravery and their sacrifice, but it's also due to us. Remember, the United States pulled together a coalition of more than 50 nations to support Ukraine. We unified and expanded NATO. We can't walk away now. And that's what Putin is betting on. He's betting on we're going to walk away. That's why I'll be speaking to the G7 folks, so some of the heads of the European Union and NATO today. That's why I'm announcing more than 500 new sanctions in response